don't know who needs to hear this today, but listen, survival mode is over. You've survived long enough. You've carried long enough. You have been strong for everybody long enough. And maybe the reason this message found you is because God is trying to show you that you are entering a new season, okay? A season where you do not have to keep fighting for everything, a season where you do not have to keep forcing everything, a season where you stop expecting the worst every time something good is about to happen in your life. A season where you finally get out of your own way and you allow the doors to open. Because the truth is, sometimes the door is already open. But when you have been in survival mode for long, you do not always know how to receive what is actually on the other side. You know how to fight. You know how to figure it out. You know how to push through. You know how to make things happen even when there is nothing left. You know how to show up tired. You know how to take care of everybody else while quietly putting yourself last. But do you know how to breathe? Do you know how to receive? Do you know how to trust peace when it finally arrives in your life? And those were a few questions that I had to ask myself because I have been in survival mode for a very long time. Being the oldest child, helping to care for my siblings, taking care of my parents, going through 2 marriages, becoming an independent single mother, making sure that my children were okay, holding things together even when I didn't always feel okay. It became normal for me. Survival was not just something that I went through. It became the way that I moved. And when you have lived like that for years, right? You become used to crossing every T and dotting every I. I'm talking about spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, and even financially. You start believing that you have to think about everything. You have to prepare for everything. You have to carry everything. You have to fix everything. You have to handle everything, right? You become so used to being responsible that you don't even realize how heavy your life has become. And the truth is, being strong can become your comfort zone too. So let's sit with that. Because we talk about comfort zones like they are always easy places and they're not. Because sometimes your comfort zone is struggle. Sometimes comfort zone is being needed. Sometimes comfort zone is always having to fix something or having to fix somebody. Sometimes chaos feels more familiar than your peace. And sometimes you are used to surviving that when God starts opening up those new doors, you don't even know how to recognize those blessings. You question it. You overthink it. You look for what might go wrong. You start trying to control every detail of it. You start telling yourself that you are being careful, but sometimes you aren't being careful. Sometimes you are just afraid to receive something that you didn't even have to fight for. And I know that that might hit somebody because when you have survived heartbreak, disappointments, struggles, financial pressure, family responsibilities, emotional exhaustions, and seasons where you had to show up no matter what or how you felt, you learned how to protect yourself. You learned how to stay guarded. You learned how to expect the unexpected. You learn how to keep one eye open even when things do feel calm in your life. But listen, there comes a time when God starts saying, baby, you do not need that armor in this season. You needed it to survive, but you cannot carry all of it into your next chapter because the same walls that once protected you can eventually block your peace, your love, your happiness, those opportunities and abundance that God is trying to bring into your life. Trust me, I know. And this is where a lot of us get stuck at. We say that we want new beginnings. We pray for the new doors. We ask God for the peace. We say that we want love. We say we want happiness, right? We say we want financial freedom. But deep down, we are still moving like we are waiting for the next goddamn emergency. When is it going to happen? What's getting ready to take place? Oh my God, it's about to fall apart. We are still carrying that old fear into these new rooms. We are still expecting new people to pay for what the old people did. We are still waiting for the blessings to disappear out of our lives. We are still questioning whether we deserve to even rest, to get sleep, to sit quietly. We are still trying to control what God is asking us to trust. And baby, at some point you got to ask yourself, you can grab a piece of paper and pen and write these down. You can pause and come back. What if everything is not about to fall apart in your life? What if this time things are actually coming together? Okay. What if the door is opening because you are ready? What if the peace that you feel is not a warning sign? What if it's confirmation? Okay. What if all this healing, all the releasing, all the tears, all the nights that you had to sit with yourself, all the times that you chose differently, all the moments that you protected your peace instead of proving a point, what if all of that was preparing you for this season? Let this be a transparent moment, okay? Because I understand this journey, and what I realized was that I faced my shadows. I allowed myself to heal. I started becoming more aware. I released things that no longer served me. I stopped forcing what did not fit in my life anymore. I learned to pay attention to the signs that God was showing me. I learned to move with the flow instead of me fighting every shift that was coming. I learned that peace is not laziness, okay? Rest is not weakness, and letting go is not failure. And receiving does not mean that I did not work hard enough. Sometimes receiving is the reward for finally getting into alignment. And alignment changes everything. When you are aligned, right? You stop chasing things that require you to abandon yourself. You stop trying to fit in the rooms that God is pulling you out of. You stop confusing struggle with purpose. You stop believing that everything valuable has to come with pain. You stop thinking that being depleted is proof that you are doing enough. You stop measuring your worth by how much you can carry, because you were never created just to survive. You were created to live, to love, to create, to experience joy, to have peace, to use your gifts, to build, to receive, to walk into the life that God has for you without feeling guilty because you finally have room to breathe. So breathe. And I want to say something to the women and to the man who is used to being everybody's strong one. You do not have to earn rest by breaking yourself first. Okay? You do not have to wait until your body is forcing you to stop. You do not have to prove that you can carry one more thing. Okay? I got one more thing to carry. All right? You do not have to keep showing up for everybody while disappearing from your own life and your happiness and your joy. You are allowed to breathe now. You are allowed to pause. You are allowed to choose your peace. You are allowed to create a new standard for your life. You're allowed to say, hey, I do not live like that anymore. I do not entertain that anymore. I do not carry that anymore. I do not chase that anymore. I do not have to keep struggling just because struggle felt familiar. And this is where we have to get honest with ourselves. Sometimes the hardest part is not surviving the storm. Okay? The hardest part is learning how to stop living like the storm is still happening after it has already passed. You may be standing in a new season with an old mindset, right? That old fear, a new opportunity with that old doubt, a peaceful moment with that old expectation that something bad is right around the corner. But what if God is asking you to stop bracing yourself? What if he is asking you to open your hands? Because you cannot receive with a clenched fist. You cannot receive while you're holding on to everything that you know you've already outgrown. You cannot receive while you're gripping the past. And you cannot receive while you're trying to control every outcome. Listen, repeat the serenity prayer. It is a blessing. You cannot receive while you're constantly telling yourself that you are behind, too old, too late, too broken, and you're just not ready. Sometimes you just got to get out of the way. Not stop working, not stop praying, not stop being responsible, not stop resisting. Stop overthinking every door that is opening for you. Stop talking yourself out of opportunities that you prayed for. Stop making fear sound like it's wisdom. Stop waiting until you feel perfectly ready. Because the truth is, you may never completely be ready. Sometimes readiness looks like faith. Sometimes readiness looks like taking the next step while your voice is still shaking and echoing, right? Sometimes readiness looks like saying, God, I trust you enough to walk through this door without needing to see the whole damn staircase. And maybe that is the season that you are in right now. I know what season I am in, and let me tell y'all, I woke up this morning. I woke up this morning with a heart full of gratitude. Maybe you are in a season of new beginnings like I am, a season of new opportunities, a season where creativity is waking back up, a season where your self-love is pouring back into yourself again. Maybe a season where you are feeling called to build something, a season where you are finally making space for love, for happiness, for peace, and even financial freedom. A season where God is showing you that all those years was not even wasted, baby. Mm-mm. The wisdom was not wasted. The tears were not wasted. The rebuilding was not wasted. The lessons that you've learned were not wasted. The quiet seasons were not wasted. Everything was working in your favor, even when it didn't feel like it. And I can finally say this with gratitude. Not because every part of this journey was easy for me, because it was not. Not because I understood everything while I was going through it, because I did not. But because I can see now that God was teaching me. He was building wisdom in me. He was showing me what to release. He was teaching me how to trust my own intuition. He was showing me how to protect my peace. He was teaching me how to recognize what was familiar but no longer aligned with me. He was helping me become the woman who could finally receive what I had been praying for. And that is where I am right now in my life. So I welcome blessings in this new season, and you should too. I welcome favor in this new season. I welcome peace. I welcome happiness. I welcome love. I welcome financial freedom. I welcome those new ideas. I welcome all the open doors. Listen, I welcome opportunities that are aligning with who I am becoming. And I release the belief that I have to struggle for everything good that comes into my life. I release the belief that being exhausted is normal, because it's not. I release the belief that I have to carry everybody, because I don't. I release the belief that I have to force every outcome. No. I release the old version of me that only knew how to survive. Because listen, survival mode got me through the storm, okay? And I honor that version of me. I do. I am proud of her. She did what she had to do. She kept going when things were hard. She found a way when she didn't know how. She protected her children. She raised her children. She showed up for her family. She survived things that could have broken her over and over and over again. But she does not have to keep driving that car. No, not. She can rest now. The healed version of me has shown up, and the healed version of me can now lead. The peaceful version of me can lead. The wiser version of me can lead. The disciplined version of me can lead. The version of me that trusts God can lead. The version of me that knows how to receive can lead. And maybe you need to tell yourself, your survival version, thank you for getting me here. You can repeat after me. Thank you for getting me here. Thank you for protecting me. Thank you for helping me make it through. But I do not need to live in emergency mode anymore. Did you hear what I said? Repeat after me. I do not need to keep expecting the worst to happen in my life. I do not need to carry every burden. I do not need to fight battles that God never assigned to me. I do not need to prove my strength to be depleted. I am allowed to live now. You are allowed to live now. And when you start thinking like that, things start to shift. You start making different decisions. You start protecting your energy. You stop giving everybody access to you, but you start resting without guilt. You start showing up for your purpose. You start learning new skills. You start building things that has been sitting on your heart. You know those things, right? Yep. You start creating the life that you kept putting on hold because everybody else needed something. You start thinking about your future differently. You start handling your finances differently. You start believing that freedom is possible, not just spiritually, not just emotionally, but also mentally, physically, and financially too. I don't believe that God brought us this far just to keep us stuck. No, not at all. I do not believe that our gifts were given to us just to sit on them either. God said, your gifts will make room. I do not believe we are supposed to spend the rest of our lives watching everybody else build while we keep telling ourselves we're going to start one day. One day becomes today. The new season becomes today. The new season begins with your next decision. So I want you to take some time and ask yourself, you can grab a pen and paper, pause the video, come back. Where am I still moving from survival mode? Where am I expecting struggle when God may be opening a door? Where am I holding on to too tightly? Where am I trying to control something that God is asking me to trust him in the process? Where am I depleted because I am carrying things that I was never meant to carry? And what would it look like for me to finally allow peace in my life? What would it look like to receive and then just start small? Maybe receiving looks like you resting without you apologizing, okay? Maybe it looks like saying no without you explaining yourself for 20 minutes. Maybe it looks like going for a walk and allowing your mind to breathe. Maybe it looks like writing down those ideas. God said, write it down, make it plain. Maybe it looks like learning the skill. Maybe it looks like applying for that opportunity that you've been dreaming of. Maybe it looks like starting the channel, okay? Maybe it looks like creating a product. Maybe it looks like believing that the door really is for you. Because it is time. It is time for you to stop living like everything is a freaking emergency, because it's not. I used to think that. I'm telling you, that was survival mode. It is time to stop expecting the worst to happen. It is time to stop standing in your own way. It is time to release the old armor. It is time to allow God to show you what life feels like when peace becomes your normal. Survival mode is over, okay? New doors are opening, new beginnings are here, and this time you do not have to force it. You do not have to chase it. You do not have to fear it. You do not have to you just have to get in alignment. Trust the process. Take the next step and allow yourself to receive all that God has for you. Listen, I hope this helped at least one person that needed to hear this today, okay? And if it has, be sure to like the video, okay? Because it doesn't cost you anything to like the video, to comment, and let me know how this video helped you in a way. And listen, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit the subscribe button. And as y'all know, I always like to close like this. Always listen to your intuition, because your intuition is always guiding you to be at the right place, at the right time, around the right people, doing the right things. And most importantly, protect your peace, because baby, your peace is everything. So until the next video, I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.